Welcome to Ode to Games. My name is Logan Plant, joined alongside just who you'd expect, Zach Ross. What's up, Zach?
Hi, how's it going?
You got a new camera, a new computer, a new mic? What a setup!
Uh, it is still a work in progress. We're getting through it. This will
Yeah.
be like a test run, but
Yep.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
If you're watching the video version, Zach's probably going to be pretty jittery
Yeah.
on cam, and
yeah, a little
hopefully his
bit.
audio
We'll get it fixed.
doesn't cut out too
next
much.
Week.
Yep. And that other familiar voice and familiar face is Kevin Valine. What's up, Kev?
Nothing much. Just playing a lot of Spirit Fair.
Yeah, you liking it?
It's great. So relaxing.
Nice.
So good.
We've got a pretty big show. Lots of news to get to. One of our favorite games to follow has a huge news update, which
That
we're
could
excited to talk
Ruin
about.
a prediction.
It could.
Very
It could.
recently.
And we're going to be talking about another one of Kevin's predictions with some Sonic stuff. We're looking forward to that. I've been playing Hitman 3, which got caught up in the hype cycle. Is it paying off? We'll find out later in the show. But let's start out with what I called an Xbox One era backpedal from Microsoft earlier this week. So basically, to start out, Microsoft announced that they were going to increase Xbox Live Gold subscriptions up to $10.99 a month, and so $5 increase for a 3-month membership. So big price increases, and it was going to be $120 a year.
Yeah.
Was going to be this. It was going to be double the price.
And they had dropped the year subscription. So you would have had to do 2 6-month subscriptions for $60 each.
Yeah. So monthly increases, and then this big yearly increase as a bulk, paying as little as you can, was going to be $120 a year. And just putting this out clearly what it is, it's a push to get people to Game Pass. That's all this is basically making Xbox Live Gold a very unattractive service and saying, just get Game Pass Ultimate, which is what, the same price for a year, if I'm not mistaken. So
Ultimate?
it might, maybe not for Ultimate. Yeah.
But Game Pass and some of those is similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's basically trying to gate people towards getting Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which includes a live subscription to pay online. And the internet went ablaze, and the same day, Xbox issued an apology and a correction saying it will not increase the price of Xbox Live Gold. Not only that, it is now joining Nintendo and Sony in being a place where you do not have to pay to play multiplayer on free-to-play games. So talking about Fortnite.
Which is
Fortnite, you didn't have to have Switch Online or PS Plus, but you did have to have Gold, and now that is no longer the case. So it went from a really non-consumer friendly move to actually an improvement that people have been asking for a long time. And it feels very similar to no used games, Connect required, all this nonsense from Xbox One to be pulled back instantly. And I was really surprised by this because this hasn't been what Microsoft has been like at all, basically, since they've been leading up to the Series X and S launch.
Yeah,
it seems like from the new generation, they're pretty much focusing on user friendly. So this was probably a good move. But the fact that they pulled it back so fast meant that they didn't really expect the backlash from consumers. So it probably wasn't a move to drive people away. It was a weird decision on their part. I'm not really sure what they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how you don't expect an uproar of some level from this.
Seriously.
When you're doubling the price for a year to Xbox Live Gold. I get the possible strategy of wanting to get people over to Game Pass, but it's like, man, people are going to make a big stink of that. People make a big stink about like Netflix subscriptions going up by $1 a month.
Yeah.
Which, sure, yeah, feel free to do that. But what were they expecting?
Yeah.
This is a huge price increase.
To clarify the numbers I was throwing out earlier, it is $120 a year for Game Pass. And then Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month if you, after the first month is $1 to get you in the door, which comes out to $180 a year. So it was basically saying $120 for a year of gold or pay $60 extra a year. The price of one new AAA game, maybe cheaper than the price of one new AAA game if they all go up to $70 to get Game Pass Ultimate. But yeah, it was an enormous price increase, and I can't believe that they tried to pull this, because how many people do you personally know that have an Xbox to play FIFA and 2K and Madden and nothing else? and they play online. They join leagues, they play with their friends. That's what they have a machine for, that and streaming services. This screwed them. And I think that's a large number of the people that were speaking out was people who aren't in the totally hardcore. They just play a lot of online games with their friends. It's what they do.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are like that. I feel like, especially on Xbox platforms, even more so than PlayStation platforms. And yeah, that does totally screw them. They're not going to be like, oh, let me just go to Game Pass. That makes a lot more sense. Like, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
They just want the $60 Xbox Live Gold, and they're not going to pay $120 for that. That's crazy. No one should.
Yeah.
Like, you can argue that even spending $60 on online services for consoles is absurd when you can get it for free on PC. The fact that they wanted to charge $120 for that is ludicrous.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is absurd, especially during a pandemic when people are turning to playing games online. Yeah. I mean, I play online games with Zach 3 to 4 times a week, like during the day, and it's like, man, if you just up that price to $120 a year, that's undoable for a lot of people. So I was surprised, and I was again surprised how quick the backpedal was. Same day.
Yeah.
Same day that they pulled that back and made that user friendly change that people have been wanting. Zach, anything left to add on this one?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it. It was a weird decision. I'm glad they backtracked. I'm glad they didn't stick to their guns after all the backlash. Doesn't really affect us personally, but it's glad that they're taking feedback at all.
Yeah.
This makes me wonder what's going to happen when, like, I feel like eventually they're going to have to increase the price of Game Pass or something like that. If at a certain point they're going to have to do that to keep on expanding it the way they probably want to. And I'm just curious what the response and reaction to that is going to be whenever we do get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that's kind of scary about any streaming service. We've seen it with Netflix. That's a great example. Like, they get people in and then they just inch the price up slowly over the years. And it's like, maybe Game Pass will be $16 a year or a month, not a year, $16 a month next year, and then 17 and 18 and then 20, and who knows when it stops.
Yeah. I mean, Xbox probably should have taken a page from Netflix and realized that that's the way to increase the prices on things and not be like, hey, extra $60 a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. They're trying to phase that out because for a casual consumer, it's confusing. There's Gold, Game Pass, and Game Pass Ultimate. Like, why is it called Game Pass Ultimate? Why isn't it Game Pass plus Gold? That would make so much more sense and be so much more clear of what it is. I think it was too.
Because I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
At one point, maybe they were trying to, like, if it's on PC
totally phase out the Gold.
Try and, like, not have the Xbox. I don't know. Do
they even call Silver a thing anymore? Because Silver just meant you didn't pay back in the 360 days.
Yeah, that's going back. That's going way back.
Yeah.
Look, if they're trying to do this to Gold, I doubt Silver's even, like, around anymore. Or
supported. Yeah. So, interesting move there from Microsoft. Kind of one of the first big blunders I feel like we've seen from them in quite some time, because I feel like for the last 2 years probably we've just given them praise for how they've been handling most things. So, yeah, no company's perfect.
Nope. And
yeah, that's what happened. Let's talk about Biomutant next. So exciting. THQ Nordic announces that Biomutant will release on May 25th of this year. Kevin, not 2 weeks ago, said it would not come out this year. Am I right?
So now I'm just waiting for that delay. We got to delay this bad boy a year. We saw what happened with Cyberpunk. We're going to delay this thing. Yeah, I think that prediction is kind of screwed. But also, they're releasing this on last gen machines right now. Who knows what the big plan is for next gen moving forward? But man, at a certain point, how long can you really wait and hold off on a game on last gen platforms before it's like, whoa, probably not a good idea to even launch these. So maybe
I think this is the year. Yeah, I think you're safe through the end of 2021. I'd say. But I think anything beyond that, it's like, what are you doing? These things, they're in their 3rd calendar year of being out.
Especially if you're doing it like Biomutant is, where right now it is just the last gen machines. If you're doing last gen and current gen, okay.
Like a Just Dance, which is still on the Wii until last year.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're running out of time to have dedicated last gen releases. But it's coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't forget, a tiny team works on this game. Like, yeah, hold on. I'm pulling them up. I'm pulling them up right now. So it's a Experiment 101 is the team. And here's an article. This is from IGN today. Why have the developers been quiet for so long? Basically, they said that the game has become significantly more complex, but they've only had 20 extra people to make all of the work happen. And that's including like QA and everything. So the quote is, "It's a big game, a big bite for 20 people to chew off." Biomutant's map is 8 square kilometers is the size, but it's packed with warring tribes, conquerable outposts, strange creatures, and a protagonist who can mutate into new forms to overcome obstacles. So it is just a 20-person team making this game that visually, we'll see how well it holds up in 2021 and what the final version actually looks like. But if you remember some of the videos of this thing, it looks gorgeous. Like, it is a beautiful game, and it's like they're trying to make it a full AAA experience. And they're also talking about how this is something really relevant after Cyberpunk. At the end of this project, there's only a certain amount of bugs that you can physically fix during the course of the day, but they're trying to fix as many as they can before launch. They don't want to launch a buggy game. So
that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just the expansion of this, it goes on. The script in 2019 was 80 to 85,000 words. But in the final game, it's closer to 250,000 words.
Yeah,
so this game has really grown in the time. And I really love this piece because we joke about Biomutant, but we're joking about it, but this is what we want developers to do. This is what we wanted CD Projekt Red to do, and they didn't. So I think this is great. And I hope the game's good.
Yeah.
Like, it can really go either way, but this is something we joke about playing it, but I'm sure that some of us are going to actually end up playing this.
Turns out to be good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind giving it a shot.
I just wish it had a multiplayer. It does not.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I guess the one lesson learned, I guess, is maybe not announce it as early as they did. But they probably didn't think that the game was going to turn out to be as expansive originally. They're like, oh, this will probably come out a little bit sooner. But yeah, they're gonna. I feel like they're gonna have to hit hard on the on getting people hyped for this game, because I feel like we haven't heard anything, and I really don't know what the game is. So
yeah,
I feel like in the next couple of months, they're really going to have to hit it hard, let people know the game's actually coming out, and show what this game is. Because I think from the time they revealed this in 2017 to now, most people, not us, have probably forgotten about this game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I'm interested in it. I'm curious to see how it turns out. It does look pretty crazy from the gameplay I remember seeing, and a pretty ambitious for such a small team to tackle this project. So I'm excited to see what it turns into. And I liked hearing the reasoning that it's not that they were necessarily having problems, but the script tripled and the scope just became so much more expansive. So I'm happy that they held on to this thing until it was ready.
Yeah. Let's just hope we don't get into a situation where the game comes out where you're like, you probably shouldn't have done that. You bit off more than you can chew. Yeah. Hopefully it turns out to be good, and after launch, we'll be talking about it as we're playing it.
Yeah, Biomutant. It's finally coming out. Let's move on. Zach, you said you were excited for this when you sent it to our group earlier. Tomb Raider anime series is getting worked on by Netflix, so not too much is known about it at this time. But
I just want to say, yes, that I recently played Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and after I finished it, I said, and I quote, "Now I kind of wish there was more Tomb Raider stuff." And then this happened. Am I magic? I don't know.
Well, you didn't put in your prediction, so no.
No,
I didn't know.
And it is taking place right after the events of the trilogy you just finished, Zach.
So I don't know what that means in terms of more games. If they're leaning into I really don't know where they're going to go from here. I'm just glad I am getting some more stuff. Yeah.
Were they talking about how this last game that they made was kind of the end of this certain set
kind of
games?
Yeah. So there was actually news about the next Tomb Raider game as well. It was kind of a weird news story because there's no major game announcement in the near future, but they've said that the next Tomb Raider game aims to unify the reboot trilogy and the original games.
Oh.
I don't know what that means. But
I can shed a little light on that. I did do a bit of a deep dive after I finished the Tomb Raider. So there are basically 3 Tomb Raider universes.
Oh, are they going to bring them together?
Okay.
I barely know the spoilers itself. Don't worry. We're not going to get too deep into the Lara Croft lore. But there is the original universe where he's a bit more adventure off the get-go. There's the first reboot universe, which is essentially just one game that came out in like 2008. And then there's the new reboot universe, which started in 2013, encompassing the 3 games, where it's more of her starting off as just a young adventurer, not really much of a fighter or killer or whatever. And then she gradually becomes more so of the Lara Croft that you know. I have no clue if they're going to do like a parallel universe thing or that time travel to Lara is one like the other Lara, like they did with Sonic.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
entirely sure.
The other Lara.
They did that well once, and then they did not do it well again. Yeah.
So you never know. I'm just excited for more. It's good timing. The very last chance to pick up Shadow of the Tomb Raider if you haven't yet for PS Plus. I recommend it. It's overall solid trilogy. For the stories were solid. So, you know, and Netflix has handled a lot of video game adaptations really well. Like the Castlevania series, that animation was phenomenal. It's already 3 seasons deep and it just keeps getting better and better. So I do have some decent expectations for this. And I'm definitely going to watch it when it comes out.
Who helmed Witcher?
Yeah, and Kev, what you were referring to is that
yes,
was
absolutely.
Netflix? Okay, so yeah, they seem to have a pretty decent track record with this.
The trilogy that just wrapped up with Shadow was Lara's origin trilogy. So to me, it sounds like they're kind of ignoring that middle universe you were talking about, Zach. And based on what I think it's going to be like, now those 3 will serve as the official prequels to the original ones back in like the PS1 days, and maybe they'll have a game that bridges like into that.
Okay.
You would think there are some retcons in her. She did have an origin back in the good old days of her parents, her relation to them, what happened to them, and how she basically started her adventures. Some of that stuff has changed. I don't know what they're going to keep and what they're going to get rid of. I don't think it's really that important. I don't think people play this game for the deep lore. But I'm just out. I'm invested in the series for whatever it's worth.
I think more than anything, it's just confirmation that, like they said, this is the end of the trilogy, and now we know that it's not the end of this iteration of Tomb Raider, even though they're saying that trilogy wrapped. But yeah, Shadow is on PlayStation Plus for January. We also know the PS Plus games for February, which were announced this week. Destruction All-Stars, like we knew, is coming out as a PS Plus game just for PS5. And there was a state of play that they quietly dropped and like didn't even really talk about at all for that game, which is interesting. And then a Control Ultimate Edition.
You guys excited to go back into Control?
No. And Concrete Genie
I'm curious about
are
that one.
The other 2. Yeah. Yeah, that one, I'm pretty excited about that one coming. I own a physical copy I got on Black Friday, but I feel like this is a game that comes from Sony first party that kind of got overlooked because it was a budget title coming out, I think, a busy time in 2019. So yeah, that's a cool one. And then Destruction All-Stars we've talked about is like the best place for this to launch. It would have flopped hard as a $70 launch title back in November. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that on PS5 because why not? And Control Ultimate Edition is kind of disgusting.
Yeah, when did the Ultimate Edition? Didn't that just come out?
Yeah, it just came out, and they said that Remedy said that if you wanted the next-gen improvements, you had to buy the Ultimate Edition, and they didn't provide an upgrade path for people who owned it on last-gen consoles.
And there was that whole thing, too, where they weren't allowing it, and then there was a way that you could, and then they got rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was entirely possible to do it, and they're just like...
Now it's free.
Yeah, so it's gross that now it's free on PS Plus.
Yeah, I didn't think about that angle. Oof.
Yeah. And people were mad about that one.
They could have given you a heads up. Yeah. Like, buy it, but maybe don't. Hold off a little bit.
They've really flubbed that since the game came out. Like, people love that game. And then they've just, like, flubbed it so hard with this Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, not great stuff there. We'll move on from that, though. Those are the PS Plus games to pick up in February. Monster Hunter Rise is getting a new special edition Switch. It is currently not confirmed for America. Right now it's coming
I am a pack mule.
It's coming to Japan and Europe.
Oh, it's getting
right now. Yeah.
Man, screw US.
Yeah. There's been back in like the 3DS days, there were so many things that came to Europe, but not to America, like console-wise, special edition-wise from Nintendo. So Yeah, people were thinking it would mean America because Europe, but I'm not so sure. So we'll see about that one. But there's a Switch with special Joy-Con, a special dock, and the console itself is special. It's kind of going back to what we saw before the Mario edition, where everything is still the Switch gray with like extra stuff kind of thrown on it. I'm personally not wild about how this thing looks. I don't know what you guys think. Like, I think the Joy-Cons have just a little too much going on. And I think the dock also has a little too much going on. What do you guys think of the design of this thing?
I'm pulling it up.
Well, I personally, I didn't think the design was too bad. I wouldn't get it, but more so the reason is that I'm a little concerned that they're releasing so many custom Switches at this point in time, which makes me worried about like a Switch Pro. Like, is there a Switch Pro in the near future? Should I be waiting, or should I be diving into these custom Switches? Because I like the Mario Switch. It's very red, which fits my aesthetic. But the Monster Hunter Hunt is fine.
Yeah, it looks fine.
Gonna get it by any means, probably. The Pro Controller is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't love it. Like, it's not one of my favorites when they've done. I think the Pro Controller is great. It has a gold
like compass thing on the
on the left stick.
Yeah,
and it has like a gold image of Magnamalo, who's the main monster. So I do want that Pro Controller. I have two, and my original is really starting to wear down after so much use. So I could throw a new one into the mix. So Kevin, pack mule for this Enterprise Pro Controller. Yeah. Hopefully it's widely available.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll walk into some stores and see if they're available.
Find it.
So that comes out on the same day.
Yep, so that's coming out on March 26th in Europe and Japan. I feel like Thursday would have been the day it would have been announced for America. So I'm kind of feeling like we're not going to see this one. But yeah, if you're interested, go check that out. There's also a new Amiibo cards coming to the US. It's a Sanrio, Hello Kitty, Animal Crossing crossover, which have been in Japan for a number of years, and now they're just randomly coming to the United States for the first time. And I only bring that up because March 26th is the biggest day for Amiibo in like 5 years. Like, it's pretty crazy. We're getting the 3 Monster Hunter ones, the 3 Super Smash Brothers ones, and now these Amiibo cards with 7 Amiibo products in one day, which I don't think has happened since March 29th of 2015, or sorry, May 29th of 2015.
You know this too well. It scares me.
Which was the day that Gold Mario, the Inkling 3-pack, Pac-Man, Wario, Charizard, Greninja, Robin, and Lucina all came out on that day.
How do you remember this?
Dude, it is burned in.
It's a big day in his life.
It was a big day.
It was a formative day of my life.
I skipped school.
Wow.
And I went to Fred Meyer, where I found Pac-Man, and then I went to GameStop, where I got Lucina and Charizard, and then Toys R Us got Robin and Greninja because he was exclusive there.
Of course. Yeah.
And I skipped Wario that day because I just hated Wario, and then I picked him up a couple weeks later. Yeah.
Jeez.
It's all in there. It is all in there. I can look at that shelf and tell you what store I got every single one at, and who I was with, and what I was doing, what I did that day.
That's
Anyways,
terrifying.
That's not the point. Big day for Amiibo, and I'm excited about
Big
it.
day for Logan.
Because
going back in the
I'm excited to go and grab the 3 Smash Brothers ones, and it will forever be tied with the launch of Monster Hunter Rise, which I'm very excited for.
So very exciting.
Yeah, that's coming up. It's less than 2 months away. All right, this next news story is not too fun. Vicarious Visions, who most recently worked on the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, is being absorbed by Activision Blizzard and will exclusively work on Blizzard games.
Overwatch
2. They're just going to be making Overwatch skins and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Zach thinks this is good news.
This is fantastic news, everybody. I hate studios making anything that's not Overwatch 2.
Okay, he does not really think that. Kevin, what do you think?
I mean it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that a lot of people are pointing to for good reason is that there's a lot of games beyond Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. There's more of the Pro Skater games. There's the Underground games. And from everything that I've heard, Vicarious Visions did a fantastic job with those games. And, of course, the Crash Remastered trilogy. And the fact that now we know that they're not going to be working on any future Tony Hawk Pro Skater titles sucks. And the fact that they're just going to be working on all these Blizzard games, which, personally, I do not care about in Anyway, basically to me, it's like Vicarious Visions has been wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, which is sad because those last two things they made were really well received. They were at the head of the golden era of Guitar Hero. Like, I believe the first Guitar Hero they fully headed was Legends of Rock, which is widely considered the best Guitar Hero game there is, and maybe the best music game there is. So people love that game, and then they were there as Guitar Hero declined and became unpopular, but still, they were responsible for that. Skylanders, which was successful.
Yeah, made some Shrek games on handheld.
That's gone too. Yeah, it's just disappointing that a studio that I feel like people were hoping was going to go back to some of the Tony Hawk well of some of the other games like Underground or some of the other ones to get remakes. That's just not going to happen from them anymore.
Yeah,
I can't believe we are not getting Underground 3. That was my after these the 1 and 2 remaster or remake or whatever. I would have really liked to see an Underground 3.
I just don't know why Activision wouldn't have just kept them working on that, because I feel like those are gonna sell well. They were well received. Yeah. People love those games, and Vicarious Visions, they did it well the first time. I don't understand why they wouldn't want to do Pro Skaters 3 and 4 and the Underground games. You don't have to make new games. Like, they already proved themselves once. Why pick that studio to go work on all these Blizzard things? I'm sure you just have
go
some other things
Overwatch skins.
Yeah,
that's it.
Their Diablo
Overwatch.
Stuff,
let's go.
I don't know. Like, yeah. That just
Legends,
sucks, especially with their more recent titles. If we were talking about this studio from a while back, maybe it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But the fact that they've struck gold back-to-back times with their remakes, you thought that they had entered their wheelhouse and that it was just, this is what they're going to be working on, and then they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand why.
Yeah.
But
yep.
Activision will be Activision.
Yeah. Some sad news there. Let's move on to our final story. It's a big one for us here. Roger Craig Smith is leaving the role of Sonic the Hedgehog. He has voiced the Blue Blur for 10 years, beginning in Sonic Colors. He was there at really kind of the resurgence of Sonic for Colors and Generations. And then at the fall of Sonic.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
10 years
old. Then the fall of Sonic with the Boom games and Lost World and a huge layoff period and Forces. But he's also he was the Sonic Boom voice for the cartoon show. So not just games, he's been a big part of the franchise, and he is leaving. He tweeted that he was leaving, and then Sega later confirmed it. So yeah, Roger Craig Smith. I remember when Sonic Colors came out, and I did not like his voice whatsoever. It took me a long time to get used to his voice, and I was used to it. I thought that of all the things Forces did wrong, when I was playing that, I'm like, okay, this finally, after this many games, sounds like Sonic's voice to me. And now he's gone. After that game where I finally accepted him.
For the new actor, we got to wait another decade before Logan's going to be okay with him, and then they're going to pull the plug again.
Yeah. So do you guys have anything to add about him leaving before we kind of get into the future of the Sonic franchise here for a minute?
Maybe they're going to get
portrayed him really well. Like, I don't.
He did a fantastic job.
I don't have as much nostalgic attachment to those old ones because when we were playing through the games, they were already well off into the new era, so it wasn't as big of a deal for me. But I think he portrayed Sonic quite well. Script notwithstanding on some of those games, that can be a little bit hit or miss. But the way he delivered the lines, I think he did a really good job. And you go to the Sonic Boom show, people really like that too. And it sucks to see him leave, but two, Sonic's done this before, and they're probably going to keep on doing this in the future. You have a voice for a good decade or so, and then swap on to somebody new. This is kind of what they do.
Yeah, and
I was just gonna, Zach, you got something? I was gonna say real quick that maybe they're gonna bring over the guy from the movie. I forgot what his name was.
Ben Schwartz.
Maybe they're just gonna give Ben Schwartz. Maybe they might give him a little more, like test him out in the video game waters. Maybe he'll become I did like his voice quite a bit.
It's good. Yeah.
Maybe he could try out for some of the video game roles, but whatever they get, I'm sure it'll be close enough. It probably won't take me a decade to get used to it. Sorry, Logan, but
Zach has lower standards.
Yeah, I have much lower standards.
Hey, it didn't take me a decade. It took me 7 years because Forces is going to be 4 years old this year.
Wow.
I remember
Which
It's also
doesn't
been
even-
4 year, well, what, 3 years, 363 days, and 22 hours since you played it. Because it's only 2 hours from when it comes out, and then it's just over.
Yeah. But so this thread on Twitter I found comes from Axis the Tiger, just some random Sonic fan.
Okay.
And he kind of summed up things I was thinking. He said, I think this is it. Sonic is finally moving away from the Sonic Colors era, and we're about to enter a new one. So it is the 30th anniversary. We have a logo for it. We don't know hardly anything else. So Roger Craig Smith has left, and it sounds like they let him go. It doesn't seem like it was his decision to leave. It sounds like Sega decided that they were parting ways. And also, the two main writers who started writing the Sonic games in the Colors era in 2010 both left Sega in 2019. And their last game they worked on was Team Sonic Racing, which we skipped all cutscenes for. And then this guy's other piece of evidence is that Aaron Weber, who was the social media guy for so many years, really like the face of Sonic Team for a very long time, he moved up to a much higher up place in Sega. And this person's speculation is maybe now he's helping facilitate the direction of the franchise in the future because of how well he knows the fan base. And there's also some other voice actors leaving. I believe the guy who voiced Jet the Hawk left as of last year. They didn't renew their contract with him.
I love
Jet.
And in 2010, they didn't just replace Sonic. They replaced everybody but Eggman. Everyone changed in 2010.
Pollock?
Yeah, Mike Pollock. Yeah.
And somehow he just sticks around. He does Eggman very well.
Yeah.
Too good.
Yeah. Can't get rid of him.
Yeah, so it seems like they are bringing in a new era. Makes sense for the 30th anniversary. They took 4 years off between 3D Sonic games, between 13 and 17, Lost World and Forces, and then Forces was just not good. It was not good. So I think it's going to be a new direction. I just want to ask you guys, you've played all the 3D Sonics. Where does Sonic go now?
I don't know. Well, going back to my prediction, they could go back to the originals. Sonic Adventure, to the Adventure 1 and 2. I don't know if that would necessarily make sense as a good starting point, but maybe they could be like, going back to the roots with Adventure 1 and 2 before figuring out where to go in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, the question is, where do you go from Sonic Forces, taking 4 years in between Sonic games to make the shortest Sonic game, the shortest 3D Sonic game that we've had? What does that mean? You've got to.
Yeah.
Are they going to take that as, that's why we need to have more playable characters so that we can make more levels so that the games are longer? They're going to go back to that style. I don't know. But something's got to change because they can't make another Sonic Forces that's over in 2 hours.
I agree that 2 hours is too short, but we have sat on this show so many times and said, take out the padding and give us a good short Sonic game. We've said that. The problem with Forces is that the levels aren't good.
Yeah,
the levels are so linear, you can barely even move Sonic. So I wouldn't necessarily hate a $30 to $40 3 to 4 hour Sonic game if the levels were all the quality of Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations modern levels. I wouldn't care if it was short, if the levels are that good
and if
replayable.
It's more of a budget price. If we're still sticking with the $40 price point.
Yes, because that was the problem with Forces. 2 hours of levels, I don't care if it's 10 to 12 phenomenal 3 to 5 minute modern Sonic levels.
You could seemingly want to go back to and continue to play if you want to get more playtime out of it.
Yeah, and maybe introduce multiple playable characters to freshen it up, like Shadow, who's basically the same, but like like a Sonic Heroes approach, not like that, but that has the same levels but different goals.
I love Sonic Heroes.
I love the first half of Sonic Heroes, and I have a burning hatred for the second half.
All right. Although a diverse cast of characters is something I'd be super interested in seeing, because that was one of the best aspects of Heroes, is being able to choose between a cast of 4 different teams with 3 people per team. I mean, sure, they all played very similarly, but they each had their own unique style. So something like that, like you said, the levels don't necessarily have to be super long. They don't have to do a day level and a night level. They could just have really good short levels. That's fine. And if they had extra content, maybe like a battle royale mode. Who knows?
Oh my god!
I don't know, but I just want to, I just want them to take some not necessarily take a lot of risks, but just play to what they think people will like as opposed to what they think will be successful.
Yeah, I can sort of see that, because I feel like that's the opposite decision of what they made with like Unleashed, where they're just like, we think we need more hours onto this game, and the night levels are not that great. I feel like it's a little bit harder for Sonic though, because people want Sonic to go back to his roots with Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And if you're going to go back to do a remake of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, that's fine. But I don't think it's a good idea to go back to the roots of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 with a new game. I don't think that style has held up particularly well for a brand new title. I feel like it's fine if they remake those old games, but I feel like for the next mainline Sonic game, they should take it in another direction.
What about that design don't you think is held up?
Specifically the playable characters that they've chosen. I don't know. Like, a lot of it just isn't particularly fun.
Because I think that that level style can hold up, like Sonic's levels specifically.
Sonic's, yeah.
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 I get what you're saying about some of the other ones, but yeah.
The Knuckles levels?
They're all they're fine. That's like, but do you is that what you want? Do you want just fine? I feel like in terms of the opposite characters that I had the most fun with, like going back to the original, probably would have been like Tails, because it was the closest you got to Sonic's gameplay style that wasn't Sonic. And then everybody else was just like weird stuff. Knuckles was fine, but then the other Amy was really bad.
Amy's was weird because it was also just like get to the end where you had that robot chasing you.
Yeah,
and it had some other hammer obstacles. Yeah.
So but going back to Sonic Adventure's slower style could work if they wanted to do more like platforming based stuff. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because they've been in the boost gameplay for a while, and I feel like that reached ahead with Forces, where they're just like, it's not even a game anymore.
Yeah. And Lost World tried to get rid of the boost, and it did, but I feel like Lost World's a weird in-between of, it's a total ripoff of Galaxy, right? It's a weird in-between of a Mario and a Sonic game where it's like, it wanted to be more exploratory and like Galaxy and 3D Mario games can be, but it still felt like it needed to be this straight path to the end like Sonic is, and it just didn't work. Yeah. So I think that larger levels like Adventure, it had some bigger areas. Like I'm thinking about the beach level where you have to like go up the springs to get to the top of the thing. There's a good amount of area you can just run around in there. So I think maybe like bigger areas where maybe the first time you play it is about getting from point A to point B as fast as possible, like classic Sonic fashion. And then you go back in and like collect red rings and find optional things to do, like almost bigger sandbox type levels after the first time you play it. I think that could be something really interesting. And I also want, if there are multiple playable characters, I want them to be like totally optional. I want it to be like how Adventure 1 does it, where it's like, play the Sonic campaign, play the Tails campaign, not like Adventure 2 did it, where it's you are forced to do these characters, which if they're done bad, they're done really bad. It's like, if you want just a pure Sonic experience, just play as Sonic from start to finish. You could be done in 2 hours, but you could say, I had fun, I'm putting it down. Or if you're psychotic like we are, we'll be like, no, we have to beat everything as every character.
And don't lock the final like battle and cutscenes behind playing through all of them to completion like Heroes did. That was.
I think it was fine that Adventure did that because they were more bearable and shorter than Heroes. But Heroes, my God, I agree.
And having to get like the rings too, or whatever, doing the special stages. Do not do what Heroes did with the final boss. Oh my God.
But I'm excited. It's the 30th anniversary. The 10 years ago, I can't believe Generations is 10 years old, but I adore that game. If we get anything remotely close to that, I'll be very, very happy. So, Sonic coming back with a new voice. Maybe they'll
do.
What if they'll go back? What if they go back to the old voices for the Adventure remake?
Stick with that. That'd be cool. At least for the remakes, that would be dope. But for the new direction, who knows?
Yeah, looking forward to see what happens.
Before Roger Craig Smith,
it was, I can't ever remember his name off the top of my head.
Something.
Yeah, it's Kevin. Jason. You start. We'll move on to games we were playing while I do some research here.
Oh, Zach. Oh, bring it in. This is you.
Oh yeah. Sorry. All
right.
Moving on, Logan from the news.
I remember
we're moving into what? I'm here. No one knows, but it's fine. So moving on to what we've been playing this week. Decently good amount for me, but I think we'll start off with Kevin, who's a little bit more. He's finished Yakuza. Have you talked about that on the show
No.
yet?
So we were
You
going to talk
did.
about it last week, but of course we were taking our sweet time with the top 10 PS4 games of all time. So
we've talked about it between us, but we got to talk about it on the show for an hour.
Well, not into spoilers like we did earlier. But yes, I did beat Yakuza Like a Dragon. I have it ranked in my Yakuza ranking list. It sits now at 3rd behind Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 2. I was thinking about it of where I wanted it to be. It wasn't going to beat 0. 0 just holds a very special place in my heart. But I was like, where is it going to be with Kiwami 2? And if that grind wasn't there, I think it could have gotten ahead of Kiwami 2. But Yakuza Like a Dragon was the first Yakuza game I've ever had that I had to put down and play something else while I was playing it to get through some of the sections. And that's never happened before. So I think that said something, and I had to put it 3rd. But it's still quite high on my list. And that is a lot to do with the characters. I absolutely adore the cast of characters. The antagonist is fantastic. His relationship with Ichiban and how that factors in to some of the final story segments that you have makes it way more impactful due to their relationship. And just some of the twists and turns that the story takes as it goes along. Really good. So I think Yakuza Like a Dragon is really held up by its story, its characters, and the combat is still solid. I think the combat has some room to work and grow, but
we've talked about that it's a good basis for a new combat system that they could improve upon and expand on in the future. But definitely a good start.
So a lot of positives. I really love the story, and again, as Yakuza games do, the last couple of chapters when the story kicks in is really good, and it's annoying that's when the grind kicks in, and all you want to do is go and get the story and see where this goes, but you're just getting curb stomped by these gnarly bosses, and you have to go do some grinding. So I'm torn on it, but it's still a fantastic game. I still highly recommend it. The side content, as always, is fantastic. I went back and did some of the the last bit with the dragon cart stuff. Finished off any extra sub stories that I hadn't finished yet. I was thinking about doing the platinum. I know Zach was really thinking about it because he's one trophy away from getting the platinum. But after realizing that the grind gets even worse than it already did to beat the true final Millennium Tower, I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
I can't do it. I thought I could do it. I couldn't do
That's
it.
fair.
I got very close. I'm not that upset. Knowing the mountain that was in front of me, I think I can safely say that I'm going to pack up and go home.
I think that the job system needs a little bit of reworking in terms of how the leveling works there. One thing that was kind of confusing was that on the trophy list, it was like, get one trophy was get one job to max rank, and then 3, and then 7. And I was looking through, and I was like, how is this possible? Like, these go on for forever. I was looking it up online, and these go to level 99. I was like, how is this possible?
Yes.
And then you find out that in terms of the trophies, it only goes up to when you learn the final skill
30.
For that job, which is level 30. And honestly, I think that's probably where it should stop. I think the 99 on the job ranks is ridiculously overkill.
That is ridiculous.
Because then you're going to have to go back and level up all of the other jobs. Because the stats, not all of them carry over. Only certain ones carry over between jobs. So I think some of that needs to be reworked so you're not having these crazy high levels and having to swap between them all the time. I wish you could also swap them on the fly. I think that would have been a lot more interesting for combat encounters. If you didn't just go in and you had this one, if you could swap
the different
them out,
combat styles,
it would be very
in the
interesting.
earlier
I feel
games.
like you could really mess with how you're playing along if you could just swap at any time. Also, there's a section at the end where your job is swapped for one of the final encounters, and it caught me way off guard because I went up to fight this guy. I'm like, "Where's my MP?" It's all gone because all of it was tied.
Where's
to
that one
jobs.
move I use all the time? It's not here.
That was really weird. But stuff like that. Stuff like the job system, stuff like the random encounters being way too much sometimes. that and the crazy grind that you get to in the later chapters. It's stuff like that makes me more excited about what comes next. Like a Dragon 2, Yakuza 8, whatever that's going to turn into, because I see a lot of these problems being things that aren't huge issues that can be rectified relatively easily. Will they do that? God, I hope so. Specifically with the grind, I hope that they fix that a little bit. But it gets me really excited, and the ending of the game really sets up some things in the future that I'm excited to see hopefully come to fruition in some of these later games. So that's getting me excited, both for the story and for what they can do with the gameplay and content moving forward with whatever comes next in the series. But overall, fantastic game. They took a risk with that combat, and I think it turned out pretty well. Story is always fantastic. Love the cast of characters. Highly recommend it. Although I do agree with Zach that the more that I played, the more I realized that, yeah, it would be good if you played the previous ones. I won't say you 100% have to. You could get by and be okay, but there is a lot of stuff that you just wouldn't pick up as much if you hadn't played the previous games. So if you have the time, all of them are on PS4 now. I'd recommend picking those up and then getting to
and Xbox soon.
And Xbox, yeah, 6 is the only one that's still not on.
Okay,
there now.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever platform you're on, if it's not Switch.
Is Judgment on Xbox?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that's on there. But yeah, I'd recommend if you can play these other ones. But Like a Dragon, definitely worth your time. And then
I have some info about Sonic real quick.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Drummond was the voice actor in the early days, the adventure era, call it, from Adventure through Heroes. And then Jason Griffith was the voice actor in. When I hear his voice, he's who I think of as Sonic. He was the Sonic X voice, and then they brought him into the games. And he did it in what you could call the dark ages of Sonic, from Shadow the Hedgehog through Black Knight. So for those keeping track at home, that's Shadow, 06, Secret Rings, Unleashed, Black Knight.
That is a rough go.
And then Roger Craig Smith has been at since Colors, and that includes the Sonic Boom TV show, and every appearance Sonic has had except for the movie since then has been him, like including Smash Brothers, like Roger Craig Smith's in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, which you can always say, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are, and then you got Jaleel, who voiced him.
Jaleel White. Yep.
A ton of people have voiced Sonic, but those are the 3 main game ones.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they go. I could see them going Ben Schwartz. Because it'd be what they did with Sonic X, right? Pulling that voice actor from the show to the games. So I could see him doing that. And Ben Schwartz is a video game fan. He's a Sonic fan. He's not just an actor that was cast to play him. So I could see it working. Yeah. Anyways, little aside there.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. And then now that Yakuza Like a Dragon is done, I can spend more time on Spiritfarer. And man, that game is just absolutely gorgeous. Oh my! Like each time, so. Across the map, there are all of these different like sections where you do little mini games to get materials. So it's like you're like using the platforming of your ship to like hop around and collect things, but they're all like in these like very picturesque locations, like under like a starry sky of like comet rocks falling, or these like night jellies that are flying through. I'm like, man, this game is beautiful. Like it looks so good. The game made me cry. It did. It got some tears when I let one of my passengers go. I think for me it kind of paralleled some things that happened in my own life, so it hit a little bit harder. But I think that speaks.
The spirit moved to Japan.
Sure, yeah, they moved to Japan. They were a mega weeb. But I think that speaks to the strengths that this game has in its portrayal of its characters. That it was able to take one of these characters and be so paralleled to one of my life experiences where I got that attached to them, and then having to let them go and seeing their like last thoughts before they left hit me real hard. And the music that plays when they leave is really good. Like it just heightens that emotion a lot. So that was a moment I was looking to see if it was going to do that to me, and I wasn't expecting it too much, and then it kind of came out of nowhere and hit real hard. So that was good. Yeah, it's really good. designing the ship is interesting, of just trying to like make everything fit with all these different size buildings. I had to like go through and completely redo my entire ship because it was just an absolute mess of doing that. There's always something to do, kind of to its detriment sometimes, because you have to do all of these mini games for the materials. Like there's a logsmith area, and you have to do a little mini game to cut the logs, and some of them are fine, but I don't know, some of them can get a little bit much. Like there's a crusher to like crush things down into powder, and all it is just mashing A over and over and over again. So some of those can get in the way a little bit. But I think the strength of Spiritfarer is really on its characters and on its world, and just feeling like you're exploring this massive open ocean, going to all these different islands and talking to all of these different people. And it seems like no two people from different islands are the same. Like they all have their own style of character, despite the fact that they're just these random NPCs, and they always have something interesting to say. Could
you miss anyone that you're supposed to like guide? Or is it like a set, like you guide these 10 characters and then the game ends?
It kind of is set, because some of the progression is tied to sending the characters off. You get an item when you send a character off, and you have to do that to open up new areas. But I feel like depending on how you finish certain quests, it can flow a little bit differently, and you don't necessarily have to let them go if you don't want to. You can hold on to them for a little while. So I don't think it's 100% rigid, but it definitely does push you in certain directions. I think there was one moment where, I thought it was an optional quest, and I did it, and I got a spirit for it. So maybe that does happen, and somebody misses that for some time. But yeah, it's really good, and it's just a nice game to just sit down and play for a couple of hours in the evening. It's very relaxing. The music does that, and just traveling across the ocean is a really, really relaxing experience. Love the characters, and I'm excited to see where the rest of them go in terms of their story, because a lot of them, you like talk to them for the first time, and it's just like, okay, this is what this character is, I think, and then there's just this revelation about them, or like something that they didn't tell you that completely changes your perspective on them just by getting to know them. So love the depth of characters. Game's gorgeous. Highly recommend it. Love it.
Awesome.
It's a good time. Yeah. Really good. Making me cry. We'll see if that continues with some of the other characters.
Yeah, we'll see.
We shall see.
I don't know. I want to play that game, but I also don't want to be a mess of a person after playing it.
Oh, you can do it.
Oh, all right.
You can do it. You can play it alone. No one has to see if you don't want them to.
No one has to see me ugly cry to a video game, which is always good.
Yeah. Did you cry for To the Moon or those games?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
You did. Okay.
Well, maybe. I assume I did. This was a long time ago when I was much less emotional at the time. This was like way back, like 5 to 8 years ago.
Edgy teenager.
I assume I did. I would. Yeah, exactly. You don't really cry as an edgy teenager, but it would probably kill me now. But that game hit different, To the Moon. But yeah, I love those types of games that can really dig into your emotions. Those are special type of games.
Yeah. So,
but
a shot.
Yes, I do. Moving on, we've got. I'll go next. I'll start it off something that Logan and I have been slowly but surely digging into. Divinity: Original Sin 2. I think we were bad at this game. It's very hard to tell how to be good at this game, or if you're supposed to be bad at it.
Really, really complex.
It is very complex. We started out with thing, as you tend to do in video games, and we slowly got things kind of, and then we started delving into the combat, but we kept losing a lot. So we weren't sure if we should even be in these fights. It's like D&D. It's very open, so you're not really sure if you're doing the right thing ever. Okay. And there's a lot of options of what to do. And
basically,
slowly we've been finding more fights.
Huge island. There's so much to do on this starting island. Like there's an arena you can go battle at, and we just get our butts kicked. And it's like, should we be doing this now? I'm sure we'll come back to this island in the future, right? Like we're gonna be back here. Do we do it now, or do we do it later? and we were burning through resurrection scrolls, which is how you revive characters. But then I pickpocketed the shopkeeper and got like 2 more, which was clutch. We go through this huge labyrinth and we find a door we can't unlock. So we initiate a fight against the guards and we just get slaughtered. So we go back to the town and I pickpocket the shopkeep for a couple lockpicks. We go back down and that's where we stopped. Yeah.
Well, at the very least, it sounds like you're crafting your own story, despite the fact that you're just getting obliterated. At least you have these like funny stories of like, I just like pickpocketed the shopkeep and he saved my life with these resurrection potions or whatever.
Pickpocket the shopkeep for lockpicks is a tongue twister.
God,
that is a horrible tongue twister.
Yeah, that's not good.
But the thing about it is that Logan has a skill in thievery. If he didn't have that, he wouldn't be able to steal anything from anybody.
Oh, so he'd just be screwed?
I can't steal anything. I can't steal anything. I don't have that skill.
And stuff is so expensive.
Oh.
Yeah, but it is fun. It's a game we haven't really played late at night. We need to be like really awake and invested when we jump in to play games. So we've been playing like a few longer sessions on the weekend. I think we're going to play for a few hours on Saturday or Sunday this weekend. But yeah, I like it though. Like it's cool. Like it's intriguing to try and get good at this complicated of an RPG. And I haven't played very much D&D at all, but I totally see what Zach means when he says it feels like that. There's so many dialogue options. You can just do whatever the heck you want. It's really cool.
Glad you guys are having fun.
Yeah, so I think having that extensive D&D knowledge coming into it that I did really helped out with these different skill trees. I was able to walk Logan through it a little easier because it is laid out very much like that with your physical skills plus your racial attributes, all the stuff you get from the class you pick. It's laid out very similarly, which is really scratching an itch for me since I haven't played D&D in quite a while. So it is good in that aspect. Overall, it's a very solid RPG. The controls are a little
wonky. It's a PC game.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a 100%
totally feels
PC
like
game that we are playing on PS4. So the controls are a little hit or miss, which is fine. Yeah, but overall, I think it's a pretty great RPG.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a long one, and at the pace we're going at, we're not going to beat it for quite a while. So we might be talking about it every week. Yeah.
Or we could. This could be a game we put down for like months and pick and put down. Like,
I see us beating this game in 2022.
Me too. It's long.
Yeah.
So get ready for some more.
Still be really long.
We play a lot of Fall Guys too. So
back into that.
Yeah, we've never been out of it since season 3 started. We've been playing less.
Out of it with season 2.
Yeah, season 2 sucked. We've been playing less, but we still ever since I got to level 40, like some of the motivation goes away. But season 3.5 is dropping next week, which is going to have a new level and a bunch of new variations. So we'll jump back in.
Nice. Anything else you got going on?
And then other than that, yeah, I got a couple more things that I'd like to talk about. First off, we've got Final Fantasy IX. I haven't played a lot more Final Fantasy IX. I've done a handful of hours. Overall, still liking it quite a bit. It's hard to compare it to other Final Fantasies as a whole because I think the Final Fantasy stories you have to really know as a whole before you can start comparing them because they are so complex. I do like that this one is more traditional fantasy, which is something they were out of for a while. And I know this game specifically, they were like, we have to go back to our roots, make it more fantasy because they were leaving towards the, tech steampunk kind of directions, starting with Final Fantasy VII, which were very successful in Final Fantasy VIII as well.
6 even had some of that stuff in the 2D spaces.
Yeah, there were mechs in 6, if I recall. 6 is another one that I really want to play. Evil mechs. Oh, God. And a clown, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't played 6.
Yeah.
But 9 Kefka? So far.
Is that his name?
Kefka. Yep. Kefka, the evil clown. I love his design. It's so cool.
That's like people's favorite Final Fantasy.
The main girl. I forgot.
You still using the cheese, Zach?
Yes and no. Okay. It's hard to turn it off when you know it's so accessible. It's just a button, and you're like, "Do I really want to do this fight right now?" Like,
or can I just blast
you just
through?
Click down the stick?
Wow, that's
it. Literally.
Wow.
It's different. It's different in 9. yeah, you have to go into the pause screen and then hit L2.
So
and then
one extra
unpause.
button input.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it is a little less streamlined, but still, writing in this game is really good. So the story is definitely worth it. The combat is that, I don't know. I don't like old Final Fantasy combat at all. The mixture of time and turn is not what it is in the Final Fantasy VII remake. It is just kind of weird and slow, and it feels so sluggish.
It's because in
all the
old Final
time.
Fantasies, it's turn-based with a mix of real-time, and in the remake, it's real-time with a mix of turn-based.
That's the key.
So it's like
Yes,
flipped.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is so different. It is so different, and it's just not best. I don't love it. So I'm glad that they added these little
Yeah.
I would just prefer if they were traditional turn-based. I would absolutely 100% prefer that. So I am, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do this battle. And then I just turn on infinite damage or whatever the cheat is.
Infinite damage.
9999 damage per hit with my little rinky-dink sword.
Yeah. You think you got me cornered? It's over. I've got my trump card, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't see that coming, the bad guys, but the story is very good. There's this new thing that they added called oh my god, there are little events happening simultaneous to the story. It's weird because a giant prompt pops up on the screen and is like, hey, do you want to check out this other thing going on right now? And you have the option to not, and I don't know why you wouldn't. And I hate that it's like an option in the first place, because it's just like, well, if I go into an area, just activate this cutscene of something happening elsewhere. Don't make me have to actively choose to see it, because of course I'm going to choose to see it. It's a really weird dynamic. I don't know why they did that.
That's weird,
because it just feels
they didn't think it
like
was very good, I guess. You could skip this if you want.
Like,
maybe
you don't have to see
John
it.
wrote it.
It's just
like, it's
all the other
good,
important characters who are currently dying in the background. You don't have to look at it. But it's whatever. Yeah, and I don't have a full party yet. I'm currently rocking about 4 people. I love the characters so far. I like Vivi. He's the little magician guy. I knew Vivi going into it because of Kingdom Hearts. He's in Kingdom Hearts 2. Back when that series had Final Fantasy characters, it doesn't anymore. I knew Vivi going into it, and he's a cute little mage with like no face. He's just like a black shadow with a little pointy hat. And then all the other characters. I like how these characters are way more stylized. I don't know, because this game was also on PS1. So I don't know why the character models look so much better than Final Fantasy VII.
Why does Last of Us 2 look better than Uncharted 4?
It doesn't. They look exactly the same. But I feel like comparably, clearly, there was a gap in time. I'm just saying the difference is weirdly significant in terms of character models, because they are just triangles stacked on each other in Final Fantasy VII, and they look like actual stylized characters in Final Fantasy IX. But it's still the cool artistic backgrounds that I like that style. I think it's really interesting and a good way to fit a lot onto a not so advanced system. So I thought that was a super cool idea. I still like that a lot. The music's good, just the dialogue is very, very solid, very funny. I like how the characters interact with each other. I even love the side characters. There's a lot of good side character moments. So overall, really enjoying it so far. I'm excited to keep going. My 3rd Final Fantasy game, 4th if you count the remake. I probably should count the remake. Yeah, 4th Final Fantasy game. After this, probably gonna either continue my replay of 10 or move into 6, because I'm not really interested in 8. Don't know what it is. Just doesn't seem like my kind of story.
Yeah,
but whatever. And then other than that, super quick. Yesterday, I went onto the store, looked at the retro sale, saw the Castlevania Anniversary Collection for $5. I bought it. I have talked about wanting to be a Castlevania fan for a long time, which is a weird thing to say, that you want to be a fan of a franchise. I think I get that from Logan. I feel like he does that a lot.
I don't think it's weird.
It's normal.
And then, after watching the show, it's like, man, I want to be a hardcore Castlevania fan. I want to play these games. I want to know the lore. It's complicated. First of all, there's like 30 Belmonts. And then there's a different clan. You know what? I'm not going to get into it. I watched videos on.
Yeah, we gotta go.
But Yeah, no. Yeah, real quick. I played Castlevania 1, which originally came out on something and then got
NES.
ported to the NES.
NES. Oh, it didn't originally come out. Okay.
It was
Remember that
something
time?
else, like
the
the
Atari
something.
2600?
Oh, it's
I
not
think it came out
that
on the NES.
complicated. It was like a. It was most popular on the NES, regardless. And so it's very difficult, much like most other NES games. The one saving grace is that in all these NES games ported to these newer consoles, they add something called save states.
Thank God.
Where if you're in a good place with a good amount of lives, you can just freeze frame your progress, and if something bad happens, you can just snap
Did
back
you
to
save
it. Which
scum
was
all
not
the
something.
way?
That's how
I
you
saved
play
scum
these
the
old
entire way.
games. Okay.
Yeah.
Have to, because they
For
are
sure.
so difficult, and it's because these games would last for so long because they had to, because they didn't have a lot back then. They had to last, and especially the arcade
just by kicking
versions,
you in the
they
balls
had to kill
over and
people
over.
off just so they could keep taking their money. So these games, insanely difficult. So I didn't feel bad about save stating the whole way through. After save stating the whole way through, it took me less than 2 hours to beat the game.
When you use
I
the
actually had a
cheese, you go
very good
faster.
time. Yeah, exactly. The cheese sped it up quite a bit. I actually enjoyed the combat more than I thought I would for being a OG NES game. It is very simple, but there is some depth to it. You get the whip, but you can power up the whip to gain some length on your strike, and then all the traditional items that Simon Belmont can pick up, the flame that he can throw on the ground, which is apparently the best item in the game because it just freezes enemies if you hit them, and then you can spam it. So they're frozen constantly sometimes. So that's a good way to fight some of the bosses. The over-the-head axe, which I used for the most part, I really like that. And then the boomerang cross that goes back and forth. So stuff that I basically learned existed in Smash Bros.
I was just gonna say that's a
apparently in the
Smash move set that
Castlevania
you
games,
literally
yes.
just
Wonder why it's in
described.
there. You know?
Yeah, no. I knew all of them coming into it, but yes.
Good luck getting your balls rocked by some of these other games.
Yeah, no, I've done a deep dive. I know which games I want to play. I think there's over 10 of them, spanning I think like
Been around for a
7
while.
different dudes. A complicated series is a very complicated series.
So basically,
and I
what
would
you're
love
saying
to...
is that for Logan, it's going to be the year of Yakuza, and for you, it's going to be the year of Castlevania.
I
And for
wanted
me,
it
it's
to
going
be
to be the
the
year of you guys talking about this and me hearing about it all year.
I'm gonna hear about a lot of Castlevanias. I'm just gonna be saying that now, but I also I wanted it to be the year of Mario, and it's also gonna be that. So I'm gonna have to juggle between
year? Good luck.
Castlevanias and Mario's. I don't think the Castlevanias
Could
are
also be
particularly
the
long.
year
So
of Hitman, which I need to talk about because we have like 5 minutes left.
You gonna play all the Hitman
yes,
games,
go ahead.
Logan?
Sorry. Yes, sorry. Oh my god.
Okay, we talked about like games from the 1990s. For like, let's talk about a game that came out 7 days now. let's fit it in. I'm playing Hitman 3, and I like it a lot. I picked it up on a whim, as you guys know. I just randomly pick up games sometimes, and this didn't seem like one I would like, right? Totally stealth based, and you guys know I suck at stealth and don't really like stealth. But I decided to pick this up because I was hearing some really good things about it, and I'm really into it so far. I think that it does a really good job at guiding you if you are not good at stealth, which is me. And then for people that are insanely good at these games, there are so many ways to kill your targets. So level 1 is Dubai, and you go to this huge like party that's happening in this giant skyscraper, and your goal is to get these 2 dudes you're trying to kill to think they have a meeting in this conference room. And there's a bunch of things you have to do. You have to steal a key card, break into a security room, hack the computer, schedule the meeting, and then stealth your way up there. And that's like the main story mission. There's like 3 canonical story missions for how these things can go. But after you complete that mission, there's this challenge board that has like 80 to 100 challenges per level. And it's like, kill a target by drowning them, kill a target by dropping a chandelier on them, kill a target by having them slipping on a banana peel. Like, it's insane. And like, there's 3 main missions that you can do. And then you can go back in and spend probably 15 hours in every level that exists in this game, which there's only 6 in the game in Hitman 3, but just the amount of things you can go back and do in each of them. And the second level is actually the reason that I picked this game up. It takes place in a place called Dartmoor, and you go to this mansion where this family is meeting because they think that the head of the family, the grandma, the mom, has died. And they get there, and she reveals it's fake. She's not actually dead, but they're holding a fake funeral for her tomorrow to make the world think she's dead. And you go there to kill her. And when you get there, her brother has died. And it turns out into this knives out murder mystery thing where when you're sneaking up to the mansion, you take out the private investigator they have hired to investigate the murder before he even gets to the front steps. And you put on his clothes, and then you roll through the front door, and you're like, I'm here to solve the murder. And then you go through and you interview like 8 witnesses, and you investigate like 6 crime scenes. Very my jam. If you know, Ace Attorney is my favorite series of all time. Very much my jam. And at the same time, you're calculating, how are you going to kill her? And there's a lot of ways you can do it, but the main story way is after you've gathered enough evidence, you go to the butler and you're like, I'm ready to present my case to her. And you go upstairs and you present what you think happened. And the game doesn't tell you if you're right or wrong. It's just what you tell her happened. And she's like, okay, thanks so much. I'm going to go take a second to myself on the balcony. And you're like, okay, ma'am. And then I just got up, I followed her out to the balcony, and I just shove her over the ledge, and she falls to her death. And then I just roll out the front door, and no one is the wiser. And I spent 2.5 hours in this mission just investigating, doing all this stuff so I could get a private meeting with her. And then I just shove her off and I leave. And it was so cool. And that's one of like 50 ways this thing can go. Like, I was just scrolling through some of the other things that it wants you to do, and it's like, bury her alive is one way that you can kill her. There's like this grave that is supposed to be for her because of her fake funeral. You're supposed to actually get her buried in that. There's one, the other main mission is to get her electrocuted. There's this family photo you can get everyone that gathers the mansion to take, and you can put this frayed wire on her seat, and when she sits down on it, she dies. And it's like, you don't even have to impersonate as the investigator. There's so much to do, and it's so cool. And I just love how good of a sandbox it is. And just there can be serious moments and really, really stupid moments, and it's just a perfect blend. And I'm excited to go back into some of these levels once I beat them all and redo them in different ways because it's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of what I've played so far. I didn't expect to like it as much as I do, but I'm really into it just because of the sheer amount of options that you have.
Yeah, I was not expecting you to pick this game up. But
me neither. It just happened. Yeah, and it's really cool, and I really love it when like you just sock a guy in the face and then you hide in a bush for like 10 seconds, and it just the hundreds of people that just witnessed that thing happen, you just roll back out. Sometimes it's smart, and you actually have to change your costume to no longer be recognized if you've committed a crime. So that's the way they get around it. But still, in the Dubai one, there's this guy giving this big speech, and I wanted this credit card he had. So I just ran up on stage, punched him in the face, pickpocketed the credit card, ran down and hid. And then 5 seconds later, everyone was acting like I didn't just knock that guy out on stage.
Wow.
So it's really funny, and it's a really fun game, and I'm excited to talk about it more in the coming weeks.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, I was not expecting you to pick that up. That was a surprise. I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
I'm glad it didn't turn into a God of War situation.
Yeah, it is not. I'm gonna finish it
and liked it.
Yeah, I think Zach would love it.
I'm just glad. I know I would love it. I played Hitman way back on the PS2. I thought it was great. And I've seen a lot of this stuff from the newer reboots on YouTube because it's a very popular YouTube series because of the sandboxy style.
Right. Yeah.
So I know I'd love it, and my general love of stealth games. I'm just glad to see Logan playing a stealth game. It just warms my heart.
Fun. Yeah, I think I like it because saving is generous. You can save at any time. I've been saving my way. I am an idiot and get caught. But I also love that I feel like a lot of stealth games, it's like you have to do it exactly right. And you have to get through this room in exactly the right way without being spotted. And Hitman's not like that. It is, you can be as stupid as you want and still make it work, which is, I think, why it clicks for me when other stealth doesn't.
It's not as brutal in terms of what it wants you to do. Yeah, the stealth ones where it's just like you got to do it the right way, and if you fail, you got to start from the very beginning again. Gets a little much.
Yeah, for sure.
Games. Nice. Well, I
think we got to go. Don't we?
Probably gonna have to end this thing off. We'll save your chat on how Immortals is going for later.
Yeah.
And
I also beat Wind Waker. I'll just throw that out there.
nice. How many times have you beat that game?
We are proud of you.
I've only officially beaten it twice because I got gated off by the glitch.
Oh, yeah,
So
I forgot about that.
that was my second time finishing it.
Congratulations. I'm glad it didn't happen
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, that is going to do it for us. I don't think we have any time for final thoughts, so I'm just going to end this thing off. That will do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. The video version of the podcast is up on the YouTube channel, Ode to Games, so you can find that there if you want to see the video version of the podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Ode to Games, Twitch, Ode to Games as well. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.